Dean, what a week. We had a top-hatted Tory twiglet admit that the voter ID scheme was intended to fix the election for the Tories, excelling in saying the quiet part out loud. They just don't care anymore. Fishy Sunak, meanwhile, claims that he personally has forced down the price of beer, which shows he really doesn't live in our world at all, and imagines that if he says something that's not true, simply by him saying it, it becomes true, like he's some sort of doe-eyed wizard. There was a rally of disgruntled right-wingers, aren't they always? They spouted a lot of hateful stuff and then claimed that God is on their side, which means they don't know him very well, do they? And dopey kids invade people's homes as part of a TikTok challenge, which proves that stupid is not something that's in danger of dying out.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, Volodymyr Zelensky has hailed an historic decision by the US to back a fighter jet coalition. President Biden has told G7 leaders that Washington will sign off plans to train Ukrainian pilots on US-made F-16 fighter jets. A senior official says the training will begin in Europe over the coming months, but wouldn't confirm which countries are involved. President Zelensky is due to make an appearance at the G7 summit in Japan over the weekend. World Affairs editor of The Independent, Kim Sen-Gupta, has told LBC he won't just be there to see established allies of Ukraine.
Zelensky in a press conference saying that he wants to bolster relations with countries like Brazil and India. He wants Brazil and India to take a closer interest in what's going on in his country, and he wants Brazil and India to try and persuade the Russians to come to a just peace.
Police have named the man who was attacked and killed by a dangerous dog in Greater Manchester as 37-year-old Jonathan Hogg. He died in hospital last night after suffering serious injuries. A 24-year-old man has been arrested. Mr. Hogg's family say he was a well-loved, sensitive and kind person. Tesco's chairman is stepping down next month after claims he was inappropriate towards women. John Allen has denied 3 allegations and apologised for the 4th. The supermarket says the claims risk becoming a distraction. Business expert Sophie Lund-Yates has told LBC that Tesco will now need to refocus.
They've acted quite swiftly, I would say, in this as well. The read across is relatively limited for investors, but that will depend on how swiftly they are able to tie up a permanent successor.
Energy costs are expected to fall by almost a fifth for most households from the start of July. Consultants at Cornwall Insight are forecasting that the regulator Ofgem will cut its price cap, taking the typical annual bill to just over £2,000 and £63. That's the saving of around £446 a year. And former Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his wife Carrie are expecting their 3rd child. It will be their first since Boris Johnson left Downing Street last year. Carrie announced the news online, saying the baby is due within weeks. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 14 points at 77.56. The pound buys $1.24 and €1.15. LBC weather, some patchy rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland tonight with cloud building, becoming drier for England and Wales with clear skies and a low of 5 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Now then, the mercury hit 21 degrees centigrade in areas of Britain today, and there could be a 35 centigrade heat plume on the way. All over us. But don't bank on it, because they've been saying that for weeks now, and it's still blooming freezing down there as soon as the sun goes down. Saturday and Sunday are set to be dry and bright, with warm spells of sunshine as temperatures begin to rise, heading into next week and the bank holiday weekend at the end of the month.
What?
Another one. A good deal of fine and dry weather is expected to follow next week, with an extreme weather front dubbed the African Plume, potentially bringing highs of 35 degrees centigrade. But don't bank on it, because they've been saying that for weeks now, and it's still blooming freezing outside as soon as the sun goes down. And if you think it's been colder than normal so far this year, you would be completely correct in every respect. The average maximum daily temperature for March, April and May was, and this is a direct quote from the Mail Online, see if you can follow this, The average maximum daily temperature for March, April and May was 1.17 degrees centigrade lower than average. But they've translated 1.17 degrees centigrade into Fahrenheit. So what they wrote was, the average maximum daily temperature for March, April and May was 1.17 degrees centigrade, brackets 34.1 degree Fahrenheit, lower than average. I mean, are they getting Chat GPT to write this stuff? Because if so, they might need to turn it off and on again.
Affirmative.
I mean, 1.17 degrees centigrade might be 34.1 degrees Fahrenheit. But 1.17 degrees centigrade lower than average isn't 34.1 degrees Fahrenheit lower than average. Can you tell the difference?
Yes.
Well, then you get to be a journalist. Or whatever they call them. And why has it been colder than usual? Well, it's the bloomin' EU coming over here and interfering with His Majesty's weather. Actually, it's the jet stream. The jet stream, it's slowed down, stuck right above us, bringing us northerly winds down over us. And one of the results of climate change is that very thing, of course. It's the slowing down of the jet stream, so it meanders like the Thames, rather than goes in a straight line. If it went in a straight line, we'd be sucking up hot, delicious, warm weather from the south. But because it meanders, because it's slowed down, as a river does, then we're in this giant U. So it's warm to the south of us, but that don't make no never mind, because all of our weather is coming from the north. The jet stream. Climate change. But, you know, that's just experts who are saying that. Other people who have no idea what they're talking about say they have done their own research by looking at what some dribbling idiot wrote on Facebook and have concluded that climate change is a scam dreamt up by the elite to ruin Brexit. Thanks a lot, elite. See what you've done? Rather cloudy for Scotland and Northern Ireland with patchy rain on Saturday and Sunday. Dry and bright for England and Wales with some warm sunshine. Rather cloudy for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Well, I bet the west of Scotland is going to be rather cloudy and wet. Checking for you while you wait. Aha! It's not raining at the moment in Glasgow. You believe that?
No.
It will, of course, be raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and not raining on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday. Pfft, rubbish. That's just nonsense. That's not going to happen. You ain't going to get a week of sunny weather. You just aren't. This app is broken. Now, would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Well, last 2 weeks of May. Yeah, we're there already. God, it's hard to believe, isn't it? At first, settled conditions for most of the country, except in the northwest, where there will be outbreaks of rain. For the last week of May, settled with a good deal of fine and dry weather. All right. And now, the first 2 weeks of June. It's practically June already. We're almost halfway through the year. Right, first 2 weeks of June. Good luck, everybody. Fingers crossed. Could go either way. Largely fine conditions are expected, but there may be rain in the south. Temperatures are likely to remain a little above normal for this time of year. Temperatures are likely to remain a little above normal for this time of year. We'll take it. Ahmed emails, after spending £80 million on repairing Big Ben, it stopped working twice this week. I definitely blame Jeremy Corbyn, Harry, Meghan, or sandal-wearing Guardian readers. Yeah, me too, Ahmed. Why can't they stop interfering with our business? London's iconic Big Ben clock has stopped ticking for the second time in a week, says the Evening Standard, just months after its multi-billion-dollar makeover. Why would the Evening Standard be quoting the price of building works on Big Ben in dollars? Is ChatGPT writing this sort of stuff? I mean, they've switched over already. All journalists have been fired. Now it gets written by a pewter.
Affirmative.
Hands on all 4 dials of the great clock on the Elizabeth Tower froze for around half an hour at 9 a.m, as in the morning on Wednesday. This is according to the Telegraph, who went, "Puh!" That's despite the same problem occurring the Wednesday prior, just before 1 p.m, as in the afternoon, with a bell failing to chime on the hour. The 96-metre tall clock of the Houses of Parliament in Westminster has just been given an £80 million facelift that took 5 years using your money. Sources have told The Telegraph that the stoppages were down to a bedding-in process following the refurbishment. Yeah, Boris Johnson's put like a yoga mat up there, and he's decided to bed in every now and again, you know, when he wants a break from the kids. How many is it now? Approximately? Yeah, got no idea. Oh, yeah. Darryl says Corella Braver person has now jumped the shark, complaining about too much immigration when it's part of her own brief. But I'm sure she won't take any responsibility, because with this government, everything is always somebody else's fault. Whether it's the meddling EU or lefty lawyers or the evil union barons or militant nurses or woke civil servants. With the current Tory detritus in the cabinet, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to blame it on the boogie. Definitely the boogie's fault, yeah. Well, the first three letters of boogie is... Bill! So, that's a sign. Yeah, Braverman actually stood up and, as much as her twisted form allows, and she said, what we need is to train people in this country to pick fruit as part of our high-skill, high-wage economy. How can these people say this stuff out loud? That's our future, picking fruit, high wage, high skill. They want to train you for a job that you don't want to do. And how are they going to persuade you to do it? Under force, probably. They're going to pull you from your high skill, high wage job and get you to bend over, double in a field all day, yanking tubers out the ground. What an absolute shower. Rachel says the arrival of Johnson's third child with his current wife is imminent. Might this be well timed to keep his name on the front pages with the intention of a vote winning... What? Rachel, pull yourself together. You're making no sense. She says, might this be well timed to keep his name on the front pages and with the intention of being a vote winner to keep his seat?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. If I was his current wife, I think I'd put one of them cat bells around his neck, just so you know where he is, I mean, history tells you that that is probably going to be a wise decision on her part. Put him on one of those leads that is retractable. You can let him, wander off a little while, but just press a button and it drags him right back. Otherwise, you've got no idea what he might get up to, eh, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Not commenting on that. Glasgow, hello, Frankie. An ecstasy of fumbling. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, you just stole my thunder there with the Bodge fella. He's going to be a dad again, man.
Again, yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I blame Aldous Huxley and his family for the geneticist carry on, because we're going to just have a breed of another little bodgers running about. Huxleys were into all that genetic nonsense, weren't they?
I'm understanding precious few of these words that you're saying here, Frankie, and I grew up in Edinburgh, so... Imagine how hard it's going to be for other people to follow what's going on here. What?
Well, I grew up in Glasgow. It's not raining today, Nick.
I don't believe you. That is absolute nonsense, and you know it, Frankie. It might not be raining indoors, but it's definitely raining outdoors. And if it's not raining right now, then it will be raining in the foreseeable future and for the rest of your life. Thanks a lot, Frankie, for whatever that was. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Tom texts, so Anne Widdecombe. You know Anne Widdecombe, don't you? That one. She believes the humble cheese sandwich is too luxurious for poor people who can't afford to eat. The stuff that they're coming out with now, it's like they've lost their minds. I mean, come on. Yeah, she actually said that. If a family is too poor to afford the contents of a cheese sandwich, she said, well, don't eat cheese sandwiches. Problem solved. Tom says, I'm genuinely not sure if she's being serious or if she's just gaslighting, but either way, she makes people like Smug appear quite charitable by comparison. Quite charitable by comparison? No. Not even by comparison to her. Smug outdid himself this week. I'll get on to that in a while. It is like a sort of end of times with this lot, isn't it? I mean, they like the shackles are off. They just don't care anymore. I mean, they're looking directly at us and saying things that we know aren't true and that they know we know aren't true, but they're saying them anyway. Fishy Sunak claimed that he's reduced the price of beer. Have you seen the price of beer? He said only because we could reap the benefits of leaving the EU could Fishy Sunak save beer. Which is total nonsense from start to finish. And he knows it, because he's not stupid, it's worse than that. What's a polite way of saying evil? Not stupid, worse than that. He thinks we're stupid. So he knows what he said isn't true. The beer industry said out loud in shocked amazement that what he said wasn't true, but he went ahead and said it anyway. Thinks we are stupid. Stupid enough to believe this stuff. Anne Widdecombe. I mean, what a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Shut up.
I can't. Kirsty emails, Nick, I plucked up the courage to make my first telephone call to your show last week asking about the Oh Hello guy.
Oh, hello.
Says, I'm not disappointed. I'm just angry that you didn't stop all the callers blathering on about dogs to find out for me when the Oh Hello call was.
Oh, hello.
I don't know. Never listen to this show. They are available, by the way, as podcasts. All of these Friday and Saturday night shows, you can get them as a podcast. We take most of the ads out, mostly, and the news, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And by saving money on electricity, within a few short decades, you'll be able to put a down payment on a pint of beer. Luke emails, we really voted for Brexit to reduce the price of beer, didn't we? It's Fishy Sunak's #1 priority.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities. The people's priorities.
Oh, my God, it's absolutely vomitous, isn't it? I can't stand it anymore. Fishy Sunak has insisted that Brexit is working by citing cheaper beer. He may have been drinking too much of it.
Booze.
He claimed the economy was looking up. And people's household incomes were hugely outperforming expectations. I mean, he must be drunk off his face. Hold tight, Fishy, you might be falling over.
I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it. Despite consumers struggling with high inflation and the cost of living crisis, the Prime Minister claimed that there were lots of signs that things are moving in the right direction with the economy. What's he talking about? Fishy Sunak rejected Uncle Nigel's claims that Brexit had failed.
I'm a nutcase.
And he droned on about free ports and cutting VAT on sanitary products and reforming beer duty as major successes of Brexit. OK, shall we take them in order? Free ports. Free ports are something we could have had and actually did have when we were in the European Union. And the way they appear to be planned here are just gifting corporations vast tracts of land in which they can do whatever they want with no rules. And if you like the idea of that, then you must be the CEO of a multinational corporation, or you're the friend of a Tory minister who's doling out the land, because these will be places where you will have to rely on the kindness of corporations. And corporations are as moral and kindly as your average shark. Fishy Sunak said, economic optimism is increasing. Consumer confidence is increasing. Growth estimates are being raised, he said to reporters on the way to the G7 summit. He said official figures for real household disposable income growth were now hugely better than predicted. Can you feel it?
No.
Of course not. Does anyone know what this man is actually talking about? He's just filling the air with noise and numbers like you-know-who.
And 1, 2,
3,
11.
No. I mean, I know that we got used to Bodger lying about everything all the time, but the Tories seem to have found someone who is equally allergic to the truth while being totally isolated from reality. What a combination. Now, the Resolution Foundation is an organisation that actually works to improve the living standards of the poor, as opposed to distracting them with talk of being invaded and gaslighting them that they're doing well, when in fact they aren't. And the Resolution Foundation said that typical household disposable incomes were on course to be lower by the end of 2027 than they were during the COVID pandemic. And last month, the Bank of England's chief economist said that people needed to accept that they were poorer. And Fishy wants those who are poorer to believe they're richer. Like he's doing the old Jedi mind trick. These are not the drones you're looking for. Trouble is, Fishy Sunak's not a Jedi. He's more of a Sith Lord. And Sunak acknowledged that things felt tough for families. Like he's got any idea what he's talking about. How would he know? He highlighted the government's contribution to energy bills, which wasn't, of course. They didn't help us with our energy bills. He was helping the energy giants to charge us whatever they want, and then the government would guarantee that they get it. He also defended the economic benefits of Brexit, in the face of criticism that it's held back the economy and not brought promised prosperity. He said, I introduced free ports, a Brexit benefit around the country, attracting jobs and investment to lots of different places, which is incorrect. Like I said, we had them already when we were in the EU. He didn't introduce them. And he said, we cut VAT on sanitary products. And we reformed the alcohol duties that mean by this summer you'll be able to get cheaper beer in pubs. These are all very tangible benefits of Brexit that I've already delivered, which is totally not true. Beer is not cheap by any standard, and the beer manufacturers themselves said that the tax cut on some beer was something we could have done while we were in the EU. And the tax cut on sanitary products was something we could have done while we were in the EU. So everything he said was total misinformation. Liar! When will these people stop? You literally can't trust a single word that comes out of that man's mouth. But what a mouth. His lips are so moist, the hair oiled just so, and look at his little suits. Isn't he an absolute dream? 0345 6060 973. Streatham, hello, Jonathan.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I had a few points to say to you, some of which you might agree with, some you disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that I've had to move from the Harrow because of the cost of living.
Harrow?
Yeah.
You had to move from Harrow?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, no,
yes, I had to move from hello.
No, listen to me. I had to move
Speak
because
to me like that.
my business was doing okay. Not great, but okay last year because I told you I'm sorry I voted for the Brexit.
Yes.
I go into the shops now, and when I'm in the shops and walking about the street, people look
Wait, back up. Are you saying that you're walking about the street in socks?
No, the stores, the groceries.
Oh, shops. Right, I thought that you were... Because I had a little mental image of you there just walking around the street just in your socks.
Disgusting.
Awful.
No, I will tell you this.
I mean, you can't even get away with that in Harrow.
When I came to Croydon first to see Oxford last year...
Croydon, you could get away with it. I mean,
it was really
totally
hot in the summer
normal
last
for
year.
Croydon, yes?
It was really hot in the summer last year.
Phew, gosh, what a scorcher.
And when I got to East Croydon Station, there was, because I like to talk to everybody, and I was talking to some people.
Warning.
Do not talk to anybody in East Croydon Station. I think you will find that is excellent advice.
No, but then I saw that a dog had done, the business on the platform, and the guys, they put on hazardous sort of signs, and I said to the workers, what is it? And they said a human had done the waste.
Oh, well, that sounds like East Croydon.
It was really shocking. But listen, before I go, can I just tell you that I know the economy is doing really badly.
Yes.
But we need, there's a new young millionaire of Indian origin in America who is worth 100 million, and he was saying the biggest problem is now the wokies,
Oh, the wokey-cokey?
Okie-dokie.
Yeah.
No, it's a serious problem because
sure. That's what's keeping us back. People having concern for others. Yeah, it's ruining humankind.
You need people in the government like the Ed Sheridan.
Ed Sheridan?
Because when he was interviewed about 10 years ago, one of the interviewers said, do you do a little bit of twerking? And he said, no, do not encourage the people to do the twerking. So he is of the good values. Him and also that actor, I saw he's always polite with people, David Radcliffe, the Harry Potter boy.
I've got no idea. Oh, Daniel Radcliffe, right.
Yeah.
But were you referring to Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, because the thing is, the music industry wants us all to be wokey, okay? And when now listen to me, when an interviewer said to him, will you do the twerking?
Do the okey-cokey? He said, no, not now, not ever, never. Yeah, I don't have the hips for it, he said.
No, he said...
Well, he ain't got no rhythm, that's for sure.
No, he's excellent. He's a proper. He's a gift from God.
Ed Sheeran, he is fantastic. Yes?
No,
not really.
No.
You have delighted us enough, Ed Sheeran, with all of your songs about "Ooh, baby, I love your body," and then there was the one "Ooh, baby, you've got a great body," and then there was one about "Baby, baby, baby, press your body against me." I mean, Bob Dylan ain't got nothing on this guy. Do me a favour. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin. Now, we're taping on Sunday.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then send your problem to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's on an internet near you. It's on Global Player. And you'll find that there's over 150 episodes up there. We've done so well not to kill each other. I can't quite believe it. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, and I think you'll be delighted. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Asked for it by name on an internet near you. Guildford, hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
I tell you, mate, it's been a week of right-wing nutters on television.
It certainly has.
I watched the Jeremy Vine show, and 3 days in a row they had one right-wing egg case after another.
Right. Why did you watch that show?
Well, I like because they do have a left-wing balance. Right. They had someone there they have a guest.
Not crazy.
Yeah, and they have a left-wing, sort of what either sort of social democrat type.
Yeah.
Someone like so. There's a balance there, but you hear. I heard Anne Widdecombe, which I call her Doris Karloff because that was her nickname in the 80s, given to her by Tory MPs on the left. because they said she was such a horror show that they regarded her as the sister of the horror film actor Boris Karloff. But
Tory MPs on the left is a phrase you don't hear much anymore.
No. Well, you had some sensible ones back then. But
yeah, hard to believe that. Can anybody remember back that far? Yeah.
When you listen to these people, honestly, Nick, they're vile. Their comments are vile. I heard her on the politics show, and when she was asked about the cheese sandwich, there are some people that this lady was saying that can't even afford a cheese sandwich. And she said, well, in that case, don't buy the sandwich. Don't have the sandwich.
Don't eat cheese sandwiches. Yeah, problem solved.
And then she said there are other young mums and that can't afford baby milk. Well, we've had that in the past. So what she was saying was, because we had people struggling in the past, we should have people struggling today, the good old days.
It's like the old Tommy Cooper gag. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that.
Yeah. And then you had the National Conservatives, the kind of fascist element that's developing in the Tory party.
Well, let's not get carried away. They may be ultra far right individuals, but
I don't mean Nazi. I mean fascist. But I don't mean they're Hitlerites. I mean they're fascist.
Right. But they do tend to tick all of the boxes. If you look up warning signs for fascism on the World Wide Web, I think they tick absolutely every one of them, apart from misogyny, which they may express in private, but there's no indication of their public adherence to that way of thinking.
What strikes me about the right is that they offer no hope at all.
No, fear is their thing. Fear and hatred of others. That's what drives them.
They go on about immigrants and so on, right? And then we find there's a shortage of labour. Right? And they say, well, we want to stop immigration because we care about the British public.
Yeah.
When they find there's a shortage of labour, they then turn on the unemployed in this country and the sick and the disabled and the young and everybody else and say you're lazy. So it don't take very long before they've attacked the immigrants to switch and turn on their own people as they would see them themselves. Yeah, the unemployed, the sick and everybody else.
And all of those people then turn on each other like rats in a sack. Almost, it's like clockwork. You could set your watch by it.
That's right, Nick. But what strikes me is you get. I was just about to say Doris Carlo. You get and once I watched her on another show and she was talking about we need a cut benefit. Oh, mate, that was the other thing. Make people that are on the dole work in the thing or take their benefits away. She said. Yeah.
Kill them all. Why not? Let's just get right to the killing part. Shall we let's kill them all. Push them back out to sea. Let them drown.
The right have no respect, and the worst of it is, Nick, is she calls herself a Christian. She'll go to church. She'll go to church on a Sunday and bow her head, and on Monday morning. She'll be doing everything she can.
Back doing evil, yeah, I know. All of those people that use religion as a weapon, they're absolutely beneath contempt. And there's so many of them. Oh, we claim that we're guided by God and then do the exact opposite that Jesus would do in any given circumstance. I know, it's just that anybody's believing that now. And you know what? They don't know us very well. But this National Conservative Convention was all about God, in the as the Americans have it. But this ain't no God-loving country no more. There was a poll. Do you see this religious poll? Do you love God? They said, and the majority of us said
no.
And furthermore,
no.
Yeah, no. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. He should calm down because it might never... Oh, no, that's right. It already has. John says, so we have to pay for years of theft and neglect by vulture capitalists. OK, compulsory purchase the water companies each for £1 and renationalise them. Then we can happily pay for the remedial work when we own them. Oh, we're going to happily pay for the remedial work. That part's going to happen. Don't you worry about that. They've taken all the money, they've loaded those companies up with debt, and they've awarded that money to themselves for excellence in being them. And as for, fixing stuff, well, we'll get to that later. Caroline says, don't put your woolies and brolly away just yet. Hold off till August, and it'll be about 100 degrees for a couple of days, and we'll all be missing the rain. Yeah, well, whatever happens, we will be complaining.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
It's the British way. Let's have Edinburgh, Valerie.
Hello, that's it.
Valerie, could you come closer to the phone? A little bit closer to the phone.
I think it's so confusing.
Valerie, can't if you refuse to come into the same room as where the phone is, then I won't be able to hear you. Valerie, what are you talking about? I don't even know if she's talking to me. She may be actually talking to the wall. It's possible. Excellent call, Valerie. My favourite call so far this year. Derek texts, the fragrant Carrie is with child yet again. Bodger has to fill his 9-bedroom house, paid in cash. The extra child benefit will come in handy. He's got to be the biggest benefit scrounger in the land. I mean, is there a single thing he has actually paid for himself? Including, I would suspect, his house. Who paid cash for that? Whose cash was it? By the way. Was it his cash or was it somebody else's cash? Was it somebody's cash whose company he has advertised a lot, at every given opportunity? Had photo shoots in front of their logo? Because he seems to have been sort of adopted as a pet by various super rich families. Which is curious, ain't it? I mean, is there a man in this country who avails himself of so many riches and yet pays for so few of them? I'm just curious as to where all this money is coming from, ain't you? Does Boris Johnson pay for anything? Paul says, I think that LBC should release its own artificial intelligence chatbot, being copies of its very own Brains O'Brien. I was looking at chat GPT, which is really kind of alarming what it can do now. They have a radio station that's chat GPT run, I suppose, in as much as anybody runs that or anything runs a radio station, and all the announcements are chat GPT based and voiced by a computer.
Affirmative.
But it didn't sound like a computer. Ollie says, I'll tell you what Mog's done. Are the crowns on pint glasses enough? Or the idea of bringing back the much superior system of pints instead of gallons. What? What about the line of Victorian gas lamps he saved? It's the little things that count, like the signs in the Dartford Tunnel, which, by the way, are for reasons of safety and thus should be changed to match our system ASAP. I was kind of all over the shop there, Ollie, but I feel your pain, as does everybody else in this country right now. Those who aren't utterly, completely and totally deluded. Frank says, I think this government need to attend truth-telling classes. If they tell porkies, they get smacked legs. Yeah, bad boys get smacked. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
We are headed at great speed to hell in a handbag. Or a handcart, one of the two. Ollie says, I'll tell you what Mog's done. No, wait, read that already. Rob says, at the National Conservative rally, or the Nazis rally, Smug bundled off a protester who wanted to talk about the dangers of fascism. He then went on to explain that the Tories' voter ID scheme was gerrymandering, proving the point that they are indeed enacting fascism. Wake up, people. It's later than you think. Inverness. Hello, Archie.
Thanks for having me on the show, Nick. I appreciate it. I wouldn't worry unduly about the chat GPT box taking over radio stations, because there's no way a robot could do the Nick Abbot show, no chance.
Right. Well, you don't know that I'm not a robot right now.
The reason I phoned tonight is because this is your Friday night guaranteed a laugh show, and I'm in a state of residual disappointment. So I'm looking to be cheered up. I was hoping to talk about political disengagement.
Political disengagement?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it with you, Nick, because you knocked me over the top rope lower go as soon as for round one rang. But
that was a collection of syllables signifying nothing, but go ahead.
Okay, but last night Alistair Campbell was on. Did you hear it at all?
He was on what? No, I didn't.
Ian Dale.
Oh, right.
He had an hour on with Ian Dale, and he was speaking about his new book. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been Have You Got a Brain or Are You a Brexiteer? I'm not sure. Might have to fact check that one. But as soon as I heard that Alistair Campbell was on last night, I thought, well, I can't talk about political disengagement with Nick because he'll tear me apart. But Alistair Campbell, I'll take on Alistair Campbell, no problem. So all day I'd been looking forward to speak to Alistair Campbell, and then as soon as the lines opened, I tried to go on to speak to Alistair Campbell. Cut long story short, I was on the line for ages, and I never got to speak to Alistair Campbell. It cost me over £12 for the phone call, and I never got to speak to Alistair. But that's not a problem because I'm on benefits saying like I can afford it. But the thing that I found strange was the fact that I was told that I couldn't get through is because there were so many calls to Alistair Campbell.
Yeah.
Well, that may well have been the case, but they certainly didn't go to air. The hour sounded more like a podcast than a phone-in, Nick. So I've got a theory about this. Can I run this past you?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, well,
I'm undecided. Right now I'm thinking... Go ahead.
Well, if I suggest that I was told that there was too many calls for me to be fit.
Maybe they were just being polite, Archie. Maybe they just didn't like the subject of your call.
Well, maybe it is, or there is an alternative theory, Nick.
Go on.
Do you think that Mr. Campbell could have experienced a bowel malfunction? No,
not really. That is a bizarre twist right at the end that I did not see coming. No, I don't think that. But thanks for that thought, Archie, which I will try to scrub from my brain at my earliest opportunity. Paul says if you multiply the two old gits from the Fast Show by 200, you could have he says natural Conservative conference. I wonder if he means national. A national Conservative conference. Yeah, I mean, good grief. Good grief. The stuff that's been going on this week, I'll come to that in a minute. There's just no end of material. It's almost like they're deliberately providing me with it. It's too much to get through. I mean, by the time it comes around to Friday, I've got so much to get through that it just boggles my mind. Here's a sound of my mind being boggled. Stanwell. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, no, I was just ringing up. But, Keir Starmer was the head of the CPS, and it just irks me somewhat that what we see going on with protesters being arrested for nothing, and yet we've seen the HSBC account of Michelle Mone and how she took.
What's this got to do with Keir Starmer?
Well, he was the head of the CPS, right? He's the lawman. He should be demanding in the Commons that we need to speed up the process of Michelle Mone. Because
speed up the process of Michelle Mone. Right. Well, I don't think this has anything to do with Keir Starmer. that you could say that this incident or case or however you want to describe it is Keir Starmer's fault is stretching it a bit there, Michael. Do me a favour. Good grief. The Conservative Party have been in power for over 13 years and everything is still Labour's fault. No! When will they ever take responsibility for anything that they have done? Is it never? I mean, come on. This says, with the news that Bodger is producing yet another sproglet, how can we stop him from single-handedly overpopulating the planet? Also, Matt Hancock, the man who always looks like he's about to burst into tears, has asked the Tories to woo the youth vote or die. I'd like to tell the Tories to get back into the shed with with the rest of the tools. Well, they would, but Dave's in there.
I think this is nonsense.
It's going to get too full. Too many tools. Sarah says, Anne Widdecombe, she's a legend. She says it how it is. Not to everyone's taste, I know, but I love Brie. Love you too, says Sarah. She says it, Anne Widdecombe says it like it is. No, she doesn't. That's the last thing she does. She doesn't say it like it is any more than Fishy Sunak says it like it is. He said that beer was going to be cheaper because he delivered it. He personally, Fishy Sunak, has delivered us cheaper beer because of Brexit. It's another Brexit success. That's what he said, out loud. This wasn't even a sort of twisted, demented thought he had in a semi-conscious state. He actually said it out loud to journalists, boasting that he, Fishy Sunak, has reduced the price of beer, and he could only do that because of Brexit. And the beer companies said, oh, no, it isn't. In response to Sunak's claims that Brexit had assisted in keeping beer cheap for the nation. Cheap? I mean, has he ever been in a pub? I'm guessing not, except possibly for a press photo shoot, where he pretended to know what a beer pump was. I mean, the man doesn't even know what a credit card is, for crying out loud. In response to Sunak's claims that Brexit has assisted in keeping beer cheap for the nation, says the inside organ for the drinks business, thedrinksbusiness.com, brewers, it says, highlighted how the myriad challenges the sector is juggling make his self-congratulatory point too simplistic to give context to the real issues affecting the cost of beer. Adnam's production director, Fergus Fitzgerald, said, in truth, it's not Brexit that saved the day, because the only significant reduction in alcohol duty is on 3.4% strength beer, which could have been done while we were in the EU. He said, even here, it will have no impact at the bar because it's dwarfed by all the other costs that pubs and breweries have taken. Thornbridge Brewery Chief Operating Officer Simon Walden said that Sunak was simply quoting the beer duty reforms, and so this was cherry-picking just one of the component parts of the cost of producing and selling beer, and that only applies to draft beer, and said that any discount in the draft rate just offsets the inflationary increase in the base duty rate of just over 10%. OK, so that's the technical part. And here they get to the emotion. So we got two leaders of two giant brewery companies, and they said that Sunak's claims that owing to Brexit this summer you'll be able to get cheaper beer in pubs was based on ignorance or a deliberate attempt to pretend, as in... Liar! And they said either it's amazing ignorance of what's happened during the past year in hospitality or a deliberate attempt to pretend that standing in the sea with an umbrella over your head means that your feet won't get wet. Calling it out. One of them said that the spin being put on facts, in inverted commas, facts that the government is peddling on beer, has led him to question the validity of its other statements being circulated on other topics. He said it's infuriating to see the facts being distorted so heavily when we know the real impacts, we brewers. And when I see it happening on topics I know something about, he said, it leads me to assume that the same is true in areas where I am less familiar. Yeah, lying their faces off every time they open their mouths. Zero integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Liar! Yeah, at no level. No integrity, no professionalism. And what was the other one? I don't know, but it's his number one priority.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
He's gripping it. Lucy says, if cheaper beer is our newest Brexit benefit, could we use it as our newest source of biomass-based energy? No, we'll drink it. Albert says, the oh hello chap has called you more than once. He called you in November 2021, and you had a decent length conversation with him and you had no idea. I remember his name and location if you'd like your loyal listeners to know. No, I would not. Let's keep it a mystery.
Oh, hello.
That guy. No, I've got no idea. No idea when that call originated. You just have to trawl through the old podcasts, which are available on an internet near you. It's called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. If you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, that's the phrase to use. Play Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. And you'll find it only on Global Player, exclusive to Global Player, which you can get for free, as in nothing, from your favourite app store or globalplayer.com.
On This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Okie dokie.
What's he got to be depressed about?
I mean, how many times do you have to hear one of them devil dog stories to realise that last week when I was going on about dogs that I was completely correct in every respect? Nobody should be able to own a dog in an urban area. In a built-up area, you should not be able to own a dog. Why should your selfishness ruin lives for everybody else with a constant barking and barking and barking and the pooping? Don't forget about the pooping. I mean, how many stories this week alone? And the thing with dog attack stories is that the press pays attention if there's a really bad one, and then you'll notice that there's a whole stream of stories that follow one after the other of people being attacked by dogs, which makes you think that it only happens every now and again, but it doesn't. It happens every single day, all year. It's just that the press aren't really interested in that because it just becomes very samey. It's like, oh, another person gets attacked by a dog. What else have you got? 4 this week, or like 5 in recent memory. A 6-year-old boy cried, "Am I dying?" to his mother after their American Staffordshire Terrier viciously attacked him and ripped skin from his scalp. Why is anybody allowed to own a Staffordshire Terrier? You might as well drag a bomb around on a piece of string. The young boy pleaded with the dog to stop as it brutally bit and scratched him on his head and back. The owner, his dad, said that the dog was really soft. Oh, don't they always say that? Oh, he's lovely with kids, they say. A dog walker was mauled to death by 8 dogs in January, believed to have been killed by an American Bully XL. Now, I've got no idea what that is, but I would imagine it looks pretty much exactly like an American Staffordshire, one of these steroidal lumps of muscle with the jaw attached. Tributes have poured in after a father of 3 was mauled to death by a dangerous dog which was shot by armed police. An American Bully XL, another one of these things. On April the 29th, a 5-month-old baby needed hospital treatment after being attacked by a dog in Caerphilly. The previous week, a man died after being attacked by a dog in Derby. I mean, good grief, it just goes on and on and on. And we're pretending that, all dogs are just absolutely lovely and, there's nothing wrong with them. They're so, oh, my God, there's a picture of one right now. I mean, it's just like the personification of evil. An American Bully XL. Why would anybody who's not a drug dealer need one of those? I mean, you only need one of those if you can't get hold of a gun. Why do you want a dog like that? You've got to be off your chump to want to bring one of those in your house. But, as I said before, I was completely correct in every respect. Nobody in a built-up urban area should be allowed to have a dog full stop, and you shouldn't be allowed to have any kind of animal that you would lose to in a fight. I am right about that, and I won't take any suggestion to the contrary. Damien says, it's an absolute disgrace. The government play party politics rather than focusing on the real needs of communities. Our country needs political party, none of the above. What? Our country needs political party, none of the above. Does that make sense?
No.
Well, I think I know what you're saying. A new political party, as in none of the above. I get it. Or maybe we should just let somebody else take, have a go. Every now and again. Every, 14 years or so. Just for giggles. Lucy says Nadine Dorris believes that she is God's conduit. She doesn't. Does she? Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hello, Nick. You're all right, buddy?
Yes, good, thanks. Have you been frying tonight?
I have indeed.
Yes.
It was going quite well, to be honest, today for a change, but we had this massive rain shower, heavy, very heavy. Then that stopped for about another half an hour. We had some more, and then that kind of put a dampener on it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but
people took a peek outside and thought, what's in the fridge? Yeah.
Nothing's in the fridge, mate. Might be Boris in there. You might have Boris hiding in your fridge.
Permanently hiding, yeah.
Yeah. Where
Haven't seen him in a good long while.
No. Now, every week, right, it just gets worse, doesn't it, of what the Tories come out with, yeah? You know that, what's the name now, that woman that used to be Home Secretary talking about the cheese, yeah? And, Anne Widdecombe, yeah.
Anne Widdecombe, yeah.
Yeah.
That woman.
Right, yeah. I mean, you was Home Secretary for a while. You must have some form of intelligence, yeah? That Theresa Coffey woman, well, she's had too many pies to eat, right?
Well,
okay.
That's neither here nor there. What's that got to do with anything?
Well, if she hadn't eaten all the pies, yeah, then, we probably would have had some left for ourselves.
Do you sell pies in your shop?
Yeah, we do sell pies, yeah.
Now, what's in them? Don't tell me. Mystery meat.
Look, listen, right. So the thing is, and then that one bloke goes, well, there's other forms of beans, isn't there? You can have the value beans, right? So when your government, the people who are supposed to be taking care of you, are doing this stuff and saying that stuff out in the public, when is the public going to realise that it's going all pear-shaped?
I think the public have realised that in large numbers, which is why their protestations are becoming ever louder and more unhinged. They're desperately scrabbling to keep on side the knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing fraternity, admitting really that they've lost everybody else, and so they're just going after the "we're being invaded" crowd.
Well, no, that's kind of one thing as well now. Right, and then you got Farage, right, saying Brexit hasn't worked, right?
Yeah, failed, I think, is the
failed.
Failed.
But he's blaming everybody else.
Yeah, failed. It has. Hey, Nigel.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Yeah, a little bit of moaning. Yeah.
And he said he was going to leave this country if it failed, or whatever it would.
Yeah.
So why hasn't he gone off?
I don't know. Let's buy him a one-way ticket. He can report back to us from Rwanda. See what that's like.
I was going to say put him in Rwanda. Okay, right. And then now Rishi Sunak. You know the phrase: if you can't beat them, join them. Right. So he probably was trying to be the honest broker in this now, and he's decided,
Rishi Sunak and honest in the same sentence is not a good fit.
No, it's not. No, but he's joined them now. He's become a clone of Boris Johnson.
Oh, he's gone to the dark side. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, look what the water companies, yeah.
Wow, you are all over the shop, Ranjit. You've done everything from pies to water. Go ahead.
The ruling parties, yeah, are absolutely poo-pooing on us, all right? And when Rishi Sunak says our economy is looking up, it is looking up. It's looking up at where everybody else is going while we're still at the bottom.
Wow, that was that's borderline listener with material territory there, Ranjit. But good effort. Thanks for that. How's Brexit going, Nige?
Brexit's going great.
Now, last week I said I was going to play a tape, and it's the tape of Nigel Farage. It's one of my favourite clips in the history of LBC, and I will do that in this half hour. Trust me, I'll do it before 11:30. If you haven't heard it before, you're in for a treat. If you have heard it before, then you'll know what a treat you're in for. promise that you'll remind me to do it before 11:30, because I'm not going to string it out and just make you wait and wait and wait and wait and then disappoint you at the end and forget to play it, like I did last week. For which I am very sorry.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up. I am sorry. Paul says that woke lefty communist Jesus plays no part in Tory Christianity. Yeah. You'd think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Jesus they're talking about or which God they're referring to, but I suspect that if it's the Jesus and God that I am a bit familiar with, I'm no expert. It seems that he would do the opposite in any given situation to those that speak his name a lot. They use religion as a weapon, which would put them at the top of his to smite list, I suspect. Merthyr Tydfil, hello, Jeff.
Hey, Nick, how you doing, boy?
Good, thanks.
Listen now, I've lived through huge turmoils.
Yeah, you've lived through Shirley Temple, and I'm here.
Right, Vietnam. Do you remember the Vietnam War? Remember the demonstration?
I was a bit young, but I remember Apocalypse Now, if that's any help. Never get out of the boat.
Well, I remember it, okay? And in front of the American Embassy in London, right? Then it moved on to, that's the late 60s, early 70s. You had massive demonstrations. If anything happened, you'd see thousands and thousands of people on the streets. I lived through the miners' strike, 84, with pitched battles.
Support the miners, yeah.
Yeah, if there was something that was wrong, unjust, unfair, there'd be thousands and thousands of people on the street. The last major one was against the war in Iraq.
I'm not sure that's true. Is it? I think there's been several major ones since then. I think there was some sort of...
where are they now?
Well, they're in jail. In jail or fearful of going to jail. That's where they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are all those courageous people? Where are all those people?
They've been cowed, Jeff.
Yes. Yep. And
poor cows.
And I suppose it's up to people to say no to this. The people like Whittaker. I mean, you're going to see that this week.
If we're going to wait for people power to solve problems, then we're screwed.
Yeah, that's true.
People can't be bothered.
Exactly.
People can't even be bothered to go and vote in a general election. Never mind about a local election. People can't be bothered to go and vote in a general election. I mean, the turnout is just absolutely dismal. If it's anything less than 99%, then it's unacceptable. And what the Labour Party are proposing is to up that, to give more people the vote and to make it... I mean, one of the suggestions that I've read that Keir Starmer has put out is that making voting compulsory, which should be the case in this country. And, of course, the Tories are seeing that and freaking out and saying that he, Keir Starmer, is trying to gerrymander, which is just priceless.
But I was looking at some figures. 1 in every 3 houses in Merthyr don't vote. They just knock on the door.
Right.
I can't believe it.
I'm not. So I can believe it. And the reason that they get nothing is for that very reason, that they don't vote. Same with the young people. Why do young people always get overlooked by the ruling party? Is because they can't be bothered to vote. These things are connected, kids. Get your faces out your phones and be bothered to go down to the blooming polling station. Oh, but it's so boring. I don't want to. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I would abandon all hope if I were you, to save time later. 0345 6060 973. Martin says a cheese sandwich is now a delicacy for the very rich, but they will let us eat the packaging after they've finished it. Packaging. Hannah says, I watched a documentary during the week on PBS America about Benito Mussolini, where he was described as a power-hungry megalomaniac who led his people to disaster. And I thought, that's where we are in this country, having been led by a power-hungry... hang on a minute. Whoa! I drank coffee far too quickly, and it's backing up on me.
Disgusting.
Sorry about that. Hang on. I saved you from the worst of it. You're welcome. He says, Hannah says, and I thought that's where we were going in this country after having been led by a power-hungry megalomaniac who has single-handedly ruined this country and who is now on permanent holidays. Who can she be talking about?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Seriously, isn't he supposed to be representing the good voters of Uxbridge? Would he even know where it is on a map? Like, unaided. Could he find his own way there without a sat-nav? I seriously doubt it. What's he actually doing for the money, Boris Johnson? The not inconsiderable amount that we pay him. I mean, remember, the man doesn't pay for anything. He's got a boatload of money because people seem weirdly keen on giving him a lot of money for a brief speech, for him to stand up and do his act. You know, "Oh, where am I? Oh," that. Millions and millions and millions of pounds they're giving him. Ricky Gervais doesn't earn that much for a stand-up. Why are people so keen to pour money on Boris Johnson? Isn't it curious? I'm curious. And what's he done for Uxbridge lately? Or ever? What's he done for the money? Curious minds are keen to find out. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I think he's portraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Mark says, Bojo in another bun in the oven shocker. The question is, what is it about him that makes women go all weak at the knees? Is it his wonderful dress sense, his honesty, integrity? Maybe his comb-over Barnet? Whatever it is, he should bottle it and sell it. His mortgage must be massive on that new house of his. No, apparently it was paid for in cash. It's just that we don't know whose cash it was. Whose cash was it, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Can't comment on that. Blah. Let's have a call in Edinburgh. Marion.
Ah, Nick.
Marion.
Hi.
Marion.
Now, I must just, on your last comment, assure you that Bojo does not make me weak at the knees.
Not weak at the knees, right.
He makes me sick in the stomach. How's that?
Right, so he has an effect on you physically. It's just like a couple of feet away from the knees. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so basically, I've got a bit of a point question.
Wow, you're making a noise, but it makes no sense so far, Marion.
I'll try again.
Go ahead.
I'll try again. Right, so I'm going to say something about journalists, but I just have to first of all say some of the words coming out of that conference thing that they all had were more than disturbing.
Yes.
I think that's kind of there.
Justifiable, yes.
Yeah. So I'm noticing there are a couple of journalists that are trying hard to pin these people down and get something out of them, but it's not working. They don't answer questions.
No, they don't. They don't answer the
question.
They don't answer the questions that posed to them. They answer the question that they wished had been posed. Yeah. And Fishy Sunak, his thing is getting old really quick because there's nothing really likable about it. I mean, at least with this guy.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, at least he's got personality. Same with Trump. He's got personality. There's a certain likability to them, but I don't get any of that with Fishy Sunak. So you just got to take him at his word and how good he is at doing his job. And I'm not convinced on either score. And when he says something that we know isn't true, you just object to it straight away, whereas somebody with a bit more personality might be able to get away with it, like a Trump or a Bodger Johnson. You might think, oh, well, you know, I'll
Did you hear?
I'll fact check them later.
Did you hear? Sorry, did you hear? I don't know if it was Beth Rigby. Someone tried to speak to him.
Yeah, I think it was Beth Rigby. Yeah.
Yeah, and she asked him a question which was a little odd, but it kind of did. It was a kind of fair enough question, and he just. I think she says, like, how do you feel if you lose or something?
Yeah, well, she was talking about losing 1,000+ seats of the local elections.
But
it just bounces off him. What he says is, to anything he doesn't like, what I'm concentrating on is the people's priorities. I'm doing what the people want me to do. But how does he know? No, none of the people voted for him.
Yeah, exactly. And also talking about, sorry, I've gone a people off track here, but did you hear that Matt Hancock thing? It was on your guys, the news agents guys, John Sokol and did you hear any of it? He kept saying things like, "I am a human," and then he got really, really antsy with them when they were just trying to get him to answer a question, and he was like, "Oh, no, you be quiet. I've had enough now. I am a human." Like, oh, you are really odd.
What is he trying to do? Is he trying to I don't know what imagine himself in the public sphere? Is he trying to scrub our minds of everything that we know about him? We've
Does that
seen
include eating the bits of weird animals in the jungle? I mean, he tried that one. That's obviously not worked.
A lot of people try that. It's a desire to be famous. But no, we know who you are, Matt Hancock. Stop bothering us, for crying out loud.
I think my point was to start with, on a bit of tangent. That was quite fun. But the journalists, I think the journalists from all the different press places and broadcasters, the ones that can get on with each other, need to get together in a wee gang, do a pincer movement. Just like get in. Make them answer the questions, and like actually, if they're going to not answer the questions, just like get off my show, get off my thing. I'm not talking to you. Somebody needs to. We have to start getting them to answer the bloody questions.
Yes. What should happen is, and I think you're quite right. This kind of thing happened in America because I think Trump tried to. Remove journalists that he didn't like, and basically anybody that wasn't from Fox News or American Network or whatever those Looney Tunes channels are over there, all the very, very right-wing channels. He tried to remove all of the people that would question him, and just went for and if one of the centrist or left of centre channels asked him a question, he would say, "Well, you're a very rude and you're a very bad person," and or words to that effect. And then he would go to one of his favoured channels. What journalists should do is, if at first a politician refuses to answer the question by just blathering on about, "Well, I'm just acting on the people's priorities and blah blah blah," then the next journalist along should ask the previous journalist's question again. And there's only so many times that they can avoid the question. When they keep asking them different questions, it's a piece of cake. Because they can just say the same thing to every question. "Oh, I'm concentrating on the people's priorities." But if they're repeatedly asked the same question that they have avoided answering some moments ago, then they will be embarrassed into thinking off the top of their head and trying to say something different. And at that point, the lies just may dry up. It's possible at that point that they might actually say something that's truthful. But I agree with you, Marion. Good plan. I can't imagine that anybody's going to enact it anytime soon, because all journalists will go in with their own questions that they think are gotcha questions, and the politician will just dodge them because that's their training, and they'll answer the question that they wanted to get asked. They'll answer the question that they've trained for, because they do that before they go out and face the press. They have a little huddle, and they have people that ask them questions that they expect to come up, and then they practice their answer. But you can only say it once, right? I mean, if the next journalist asks the same question, then you look like a right chump if you stand up there and just repeat yourself like an automaton. So that's the way around it. In a press conference, if the previous question has been dodged, then the next journalist should re-ask the previous question. Good plan there, Marion. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. OK, I promised. And just this once, I'm going to keep my word. The tape.
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. OK, fine. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Nige. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. It's 11:30, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Mark says, I paid £7.50 for a pint of beer earlier on. I did the maths, and Rishi and his net worth could afford to buy almost exactly every person in the UK a pint at this price. Not sure what you could do with that information, but there you go. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Booze.
I think you could buy us a lot more than that. Or 65 million people times £7.50. 65 million times £7.50 is, let's see, 6 sevens are 56. And, I don't know. Any ideas, Aphod?
And one.
More than that.
Two.
A little bit more.
6 million.
6 million is the right answer. We just have to find what the question is. 0345 6060 973. St Ives. Hello, Jay.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm an immigrant myself, right? And then I'm really disgusted by this government behaviour. Rishi Sunak, Suella Braverman, they all benefited with the welcome of this country.
Yeah.
I'm a bit panicking. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous every time when I talk to you. I don't know why. And
would it help if I shouted at you? Get on with this.
Okay. Yeah. Now I feel better. Yeah. Basically, how could those people change the laws when they benefited?
I hear it so many times, Jay. It's after me, then pull up the drawbridge. Just wait till I get on board and then repel all other borders.
Yes. And it's disgusting. And I don't. And we are the scapegoats, like immigrants now. It's not our fault. We work hard. We pay our taxes. We don't send money, by the way, back home. We can't afford to send anything anyway. So we spend all our money here. So all these racist people should stop talking about us.
Yeah, they're not going to do that anytime soon, Jay, because this is their route to electoral success. That's what they have decided. Because they can't go to the country offering their expertise in any other department. They can't say, well, look, we're the ones that have been running the economy to its current excellent level over the last 13 years, because that'll get a big no. Are they the party of law and order? Of course not. Is the NHS safe in their hands?
No.
So all they've got is we're being invaded.
Nick, I do lots of driving. The potholes, the roads are so bad, and then rubbish on the side of the roads. You like your countryside. Mm-hmm. Have you seen how many McDonald's boxes or pizza boxes? People keep chucking them out. Yeah. It's not us foreigners who do it.
I think it's probably everybody. Everybody is guilty of littering, regardless of where it is that they were born. Everyone who is a moron is guilty of littering, regardless of where they were born. I don't think it's, let's not get bogged down on who does that. It's just morons. Got nothing to do with immigrants or people that were born here. It's morons what do that. If you can't take care of where you live, then what hope have we got? All right, thanks a lot, Jay. I wouldn't hold out any expectation of the war on small boats ending any time soon, at least not before the next general election, because that's all they've got now. And they all had this... they went to what appears to be a rally. This conference, this National Conservatism Conference. 3 days. It filled a large Westminster venue directly across the road from the Home Office, attracting an array of ministers, Conservative MPs, high-profile political figures, and various assorted Fruit Loops. Yeah. The conference was run by an American group that professes to be concerned for Western civilization. And what is concerning them the most? People have lost the sense of traditional family values. Oh, Struth. They're these people.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Its speakers were all in on the war on woke. And they do this in America a lot. You know, American groups use religion as a weapon, despite appearing to me as though they'd be top of Jesus to smite list if he ever came back, using religion as a weapon. And if you think that these are only in America sort of things, then wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. And there were endless speeches about trans people. Of course there was. Michael Gove held forth on biological reality, whatever that is. Conservative MP Miriam Cates claimed birth rates were the one overarching threat to the whole of Western society. You got that covered, haven't you, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Tory MP Danny Kruger praised the normative family. Are we alarmed yet? Smug was there too.
My view.
One speaker said that we shouldn't be afraid of nationalism, which is focusing on your own country's interests to the detriment of any other countries, and described the Holocaust as the Germans mucking up.
What?
The Holocaust. Mucking up. What's the German for whoopsie? Joe Mulhall, who's Director of Research of the counter-extremism group Hope Not Hate, said some speakers went beyond patriotism and embraced nationalism, while talk of demographic change, anti-immigration rhetoric, and the incompatibility of migrants with British society, and this notion of Western civilization being in decline. Well, under threat, more like. The rejection of non-typical family units. And, all that stuff that it really is aimed at the dingalings. They're trying to drag you in. They ain't got hope no more, so they're going with hate. Spread hate, not hope, and it might just drive you to win the next election, eh? And leading Tories were speaking there. I mean, Downing Street confirmed that ministers had attended this National Conservatism Conference in a government capacity. They're having a far-right rally, and it's OK with fishy Sunak. You know, they did this earlier on. This is not the first year that's happened. It happened in 2020. And when a Tory MP went in 2020, he was forced to apologise afterwards. There were calls for him to be booted out of his own party for appearing at that event. And now it's all OK. How far we've come in just 3 years. All OK under the new regime. Not too far to the right for fishy Sunak. 3 years and 2 prime ministers later, no such censure has been applied to the ministers. It was Daniel Kaczynski. He was formally warned that his attendance at that event in 2020 was not acceptable. That's what the government said then. The government says now, it's fine. The group's website, the National Conservatism Conference, proclaims, "We are citizens of Western nations who have watched with alarm as the traditional beliefs, institutions and liberties underpinning life in the countries that we love have been progressively undermined and overthrown." It calls for the restoration of a proper public orientation toward patriotism and courage, honour and loyalty, religion and wisdom, congregation and family, man and woman. Those are the only options available. Any other options are not acceptable. And, you know, whenever I hear about some group spouting on about Jesus and the sanctity of marriage, and it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, I expect them to be photographed coming out of some closet in 3, 2, 1, There you are. And the only positive I can see is that these people's views, when they're exposed to sunlight, they repel the average person. We're not religious anymore. They're behind the times. We don't do God. The National Conservatism Group's published statement of principles is heavily focused on Christianity, along with ideas of Western identity and traditional family. It's like Mary Whitehouse has woken from the dead. Hailing the Bible as the surest guide to the political traditions of the nation, the statement calls for public life in the UK to be rooted in Christianity. And this country says back, no. No. You live in the Dark Ages if you want, just don't drag the rest of us into your furious crimson world. And the reason I can say that with certainty is because there was a poll just recently, a major study, not a small study, huge. And we in this country are among the least likely on earth to believe in God. That ship's sailed and sunk. We just don't do that no more. Under half of the people that live in this country said that they believed in the existence of a higher power. Less than half. The majority don't. A couple of decades ago, 3/4 believed in it. Not no more. Levels were lower in just 5 of the 24 nations covered in this research, led by the Policy Institute at King's College in London. A drift away from religion. It's been happening for decades. A belief in life after death has remained fairly solid, though, which is just wishful thinking, isn't it? I mean, that's more people believe in life after death than believe in God. I think the two may be connected, unless the life after death is just some sort of holiday resort run by a hotel group, rather than a destination chosen for you by the all-seeing entity. And this all comes from the World Values Study. Huge analysis running since 1981. And a professor of social science at University College London said the findings point to both long-established erosion of religious involvement. The main story remains that most people in Britain are not interested in religion. And we got these Looney Tunes from America coming over here and shouting about God, as though God would be on their side. Adults under 40 are much more likely than older people to call themselves atheists, but also to say that they believe in hell, which might just be a reference to A&E on a Saturday night. It's what we do and do not believe is a bit weird. Are you religious? Answer, atheist, 21%, not religious, 46%, which is a total of 67% of us not religious. Overwhelming majority, 67%. Only 33% of us say we are religious. So this Conservative conference, I don't know which world they're inhabiting, but it's not the one that we're in. Question, do you believe in God? 49% said yes. More than half don't believe in God. Do you believe in life after death? 46% said yes. Do you believe in heaven? 40% said yes. Do you believe in hell? Only 27%. Well, if you believe in heaven, you've got to believe in hell, don't you? But maybe if they think, well, if I don't believe in it, I ain't going there. I mean, where do these people think they're going to go in to live in the afterlife if they don't believe in hell? Centre Parks? Where's it going to be? But anyway, excellent news. We don't believe in the invisible space wizard anymore, and we ain't going back. That is a steady slope down. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
This is absolute tosh.
Did I play that one already? Repeating myself now. Chris says, so the Conservatives want to promote the nuclear family to stay together for the kids. But who do they want as their leader? Boris Johnson, a man whose wife was always prefaced by the word current. and has so many children with so many surnames, even he's lost track. Yes, exactly. I've just been looking at the menu in the House of Commons because Anne Widdecombe, that one, when she was going on about if you can't afford a cheese sandwich, don't eat. She said that, people shouldn't get used to living on subsidised food, benefits claimants. You shouldn't get comfortable living off the kindness of strangers. I've just been looking at the menu in the members' dining room of the House of Commons because, of course, they are comfortable living off our kindness because we subsidise their food. It's like going back in time. This is a current menu, and the soup of the day is £2.80.
What?
Tell me another place in all of London that serves soup at £2.80. Roast rump of beef with smoked garlic, dauphinoise potatoes, soy roasted beetroot, charred green onions, beef and red wine reduction, £9.50. What? £9.50. I mean, if that's not a 50 quid dish in that postcode, I don't know what is. A selection of seasonal vegetables or potatoes of the day, £1.70. I mean, it would be £7 in any restaurant within a half a mile of that location. And they have the nerve to tell us that we should not get used to living on benefits. Biggest benefits scroungers ever. It's just gaslighting. Let's have a look now. Who's been waiting the longest? Totally fair about this. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, you're on form tonight, mate. Brilliant monologue. We keep saying that what happens in America comes over here, and we've had the NatCon conference hosted by an American think tank.
Yes.
With all the religious stuff and everything else. But did you see the Beat Biden AI-generated advert from Trump?
No.
Right. AI-generated. So they had China invading Taiwan, AI-generated like Rambo. San Francisco had been locked down because of crime and drugs.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, there was loads of technical failings in it. It was obviously sort of ChatGPT or whatever generated, but the technical failings in it. But when you look at it, it's like some kid's arcade video. Are we going to get that over here next? Is that what's going to come over? I know we don't have a load of AR-15 gun-toting dinglings over here, but the quality of what's happening there, people who don't know a great deal about current affairs could look at that and go, hell, Biden's killing us here. We need to get rid of him.
Yeah, and at the moment, it might be that you can tell the difference between, what's live and what's Memorex. But quite shortly, you won't be able to tell the difference at all. And you will believe that dinosaurs can walk around with man.
Yeah, it is really quite a disturbing thing to see what's going on over there. And if that's the next thing that's coming over here, the next election is going to be really alarming unless we get some fact-check type systems set
You
up.
can forget that because we're in a post-truth world now. And it came with Donald Trump and his mini-me, Boris Johnson. And they learned very quickly from Trump, Boris Johnson and every other Tory minister now, that they just know that they don't have to tell the truth at all. They just have to continue to lie, and then they watch the clock tick away, and then they the program that they're on has to move to the next story, and they get away with it. And then people will go away and they'll fact-check what they said, and they'll say, well, this wasn't right, and this wasn't right, and this wasn't right. But it's too late. Unless you can do it in the moment, unless you can stop them in their tracks and say that was a lie and pin them down and make them admit it, then the lie is out there. And it's gone all the way around the world, and everybody believes the first thing. It's like the primacy effect. You believe the first thing you heard Not the middle bit, not the bit where people say, well, it might not have been quite right and he should have said this and she shouldn't have actually stressed this point, because that's all just noise. People ain't paying no attention to that. Just précis it, underline it and shout it, and that's what gets through.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, but what we need, then you're saying, is a better set of interviewers. I mean, you and James O'Brien interviewing politicians, not letting them get away with it.
Well, James O'Brien, me, I'm just a dope who plays cow noises on the radio, and I can't even do that right.
Now, I've heard you interviewing people, and you are forensic with them.
I'm absolutely not forensic. I just might get annoyed and become infuriated at being gaslit. But no, I am not forensic. But thanks for saying so. Ian Dunt was quite good in the Independent. He was talking about the National Conservatism, the National Conservatism Conference. Shall I read you a bit of what he said? And but if I do that, I'll have to say goodbye, Mike.
Cheers, mate.
All right, thanks. He says, what a week. The National Conservatism... what's wrong with me? Conservatism Conference has provided a full pharmacopoeia of the British right-wing culture war. No idea is too lunatic, no notion too fanciful to exclude it from proceedings. In a wild few days, speaker after speaker competed to produce some of the most deranged and objectionable propositions available to modern political thought. Political author Douglas Murray told delegates, quotes, I see no reason why every other country in the world should be prevented from feeling pride in itself because the Germans mucked up twice in a century.
What?
Mucked up. Tory MP Danny Kruger came next. The reporting of his speech centred primarily on the point where he seemed to go quite completely insane, raving about a weird medley of transgressive ideas that is now threatening the basis of civilization. These included Marxism and narcissism and paganism, self-worship and nature worship, all wrapped up in revolution. Anybody know what that means?
No.
Braverman's speech was largely a standard nativist address attacking immigration, multiculturalism and benefits. You know, the usual.
Boring.
The most dangerous speaker by far was one who had the least objectionable thing to say, Michael Gove. His primary function was to legitimise what was said on stage. In doing so, he covered what had been said in a cloak of respectability.
A major capital letters, big news story.
Yeah, it was. In doing so, he covered what had been said in a cloak of respectability. It wasn't some mad frenzy of far-right gibberish. It had been enfolded into the acceptable political boundaries of the Conservative Party. You know, the one that's run by Mr. Integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Every level. Yeah. Sure it will. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Somebody called Rishi Sunak flaccid. Did you hear that? I'll get to that in a bit. And somebody interrupted the smug.
My view?
His view is that he takes a very dim view of being interrupted. Plenty to talk about.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Yeah! Dude!
Hello? Number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, I am most sorry to keep John in Sandbach waiting. Hello, John.
Hi, I've been listening to you. I was going to go to bed after an hour ago to switch your programme on and woke up again.
Yeah. Wake up.
The Conservative Party seems to be beginning to be dominated by evangelical.
Yeah.
Evangelicals.
Yeah.
Yes. American politics, which controls the Trump regime. and they're trying to bring it all over here.
Yeah, they constantly go on about the Bible and gun ownership, because that's what Jesus wants. He wants you to own a military assault weapon. Apparently, it says it right there in the Bible.
Yeah, he says, if you don't believe in my God, I'll shoot you. And that's their philosophy.
Yeah, well, they might not have written that down, but essentially that's about right, yeah. Metaphorically, they'll shoot you, metaphorically speaking, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're doing with the Conservative Party, and they're trying to ram it down our throats.
Yeah, we ain't having it. No, we've done that, we've been there, and we've come out the other side. We don't do religion no more.
No, that belongs to the 18th, 19th century.
Yeah.
You can stuff all that.
You put it pithily, yes.
We've had it up to our necks for decades.
Yeah, up to our eyeballs we've had all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want it.
We reject it, yes. We've been there, we've had it, we've rolled it around as an idea, and we thought, no.
Yeah, and the thing is that they keep trying to ram it down our throats, and they don't understand that we don't want it. I think they understand, but they feel that control is getting away from them, so that they want to reimpose it upon us. You know, continuously going on about, if you don't act in this way, then you are not patriotic. Then you will not go to heaven. That God won't love you, and on and on and on. And we're just not that country anymore. You could say that parts of America are that country. Absolutely. You know, the dingling states, but we're not like that. That's where they came, you know, with the voter ID thing and all that come.
Well, Mogg said it out loud, didn't it? I mean, didn't he? It's like they just don't care anymore. They're saying the quiet part out loud because they just don't care anymore. It's almost as though they know something that we don't, which is that the next election is going to be cancelled for our convenience. They're going to run the country forevermore, and by that method, do us a favour.
Did the Houses of Parliament menu come from Wetherspoons?
No, and I looked up the price of their wine as well, and the amount that we're subsidising those people is absolutely staggering. It's over £5 million a year that we're paying them just so they can have dinner, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and if
drinking on the job as well, by the way.
Boris Johnson's wife's having another baby, but if it was somebody on universal credit, it'd be. Those people breed like rabbits.
I know. Benefits scroungers. Yeah, he has to be. I mean, has he ever paid for anything? Just curious. All right, thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Richard emails, I'm sure cheap beer referred to by the government will only be available in the House of Commons bar.
Booze.
Yeah, I've just been looking up the price of beer. I didn't get to. Wine I've looked at. And it is, again, it's like going back in time. In a top restaurant in SW1, you could not buy a bottle of champagne for £38. You just couldn't. Impossible. The champagne list would start at 100. So essentially, we are subsidising their alcohol intake, apart from anything else. I think they've had enough. I think they've had a skinful. I know I have. Bodmin, hello, Malcolm.
Hello, Nick. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks.
You've just ridden roughshod over what I wanted to say, my friend.
Oh.
No, you touched on what I was wanting to speak to you about, Nick, and it's this, basically. This group, which has come over from America, they're looking to extend their philosophy, view on life into Europe and other places. And they've already got links with Obrien in Hungary and the Italian lady whose name
we forget. Yeah,
yeah, and they. It's fairly obvious they've only managed to catch the attention of the clearly right-wing nutcase fraternity in the Tory party. And you mentioned that Michael Gove. Well, Michael Gove, I mean, all of the speakers at this thing will have signed up before hearing anybody speak, obviously.
Yeah, but they knew what they were getting into. It's not a mystery.
Well, the story goes that Michael Gove, by the time it was his turn, he panicked a little.
Oh, please.
And he put the brakes on, or to try to backtrack from some of what the other people had said.
Yeah.
And given that they're as much Tory representatives as he is.
Yeah, that's just absolute nonsense. They knew what they were getting into because this has happened before.
Yes. It's only about 5 years old. This body, this Burke, whatever it is.
To be clear, that's the name of the organisation, Edmund Burke. They may be Burkes, but he is Edmund Burke.
The thing the main point I would draw out of this, Nick, is in America, the Americans are a republic. They got rid of the king, which was our king, and they adopted a president. Well, Great Britain hasn't got that. We've got a king who is anti all of this, and more importantly, in America you can swap guns for evangelicals, evangelicals. They're one and the same. They're not strictly religious, but it's a cloak, and
it's a weapon. They use religion as a weapon.
Yes. But the opposite, the point I'm making, Nick, is, and this is what people need, to cling on to. Here, we've got an actual church, and the church is the King's church. And the King and the head of his church at the minute, they are talking through the same side of the same mouth, yeah?
Yeah, and they're being pilloried in the right-wing press for doing that. Why don't they mind their own business? Well, they shouldn't be talking about politics, says somebody in the right-wing press whose job is not politics. So how come everybody who they disagree with should not ever talk about politics, but everyone that they agree with, that's perfectly fine that they can talk about politics regardless of what they do for a living?
Yeah, but the point I make, Nick, is that this Tory party is in the process. I think it already has been. It's been overtaken by a force which is way stronger than them, and it's common sense. And I honestly believe, and you're going to mock me for this, common sense is back. And I think that
wait a minute. Wait.
Let me just...
All right, go on.
The right-wing press that you speak of, it's thrown everything it's got at Brexit. It's thrown everything it's got behind the Tories.
Yeah.
And the Tories are getting absolutely trounced. Sunak, I mean, the media at the moment towards Sunak, if I wasn't a Labour supporter, I'd weep for the poor man. It's cruel. I mean...
it's not cruel at all. What are you talking about?
Nick. If you watched, and you will have, I'm sure, the best Rigby interview shown this or played out this morning on radio and TV,
I watched it.
She did the same to Johnson, and that was at the start of the end of him.
It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. It just bounces right off them. They hear the question, and you can see it in his eyes that this does not compute, and so his little head bobs up and down, and he goes, well, I'm just concentrating on delivering for the people. I'm delivering what the... what?
Yeah, and the people in the country, you, me, everybody else, we're watching it, Nick, and we're seeing how inadequate he is, how useless he is.
Not really. Not really. You come away none the wiser. You just come away with the message that he's delivering on the people's priorities. That's what the message is.
I think you've convinced it yourself of a message, Nick, and you're sticking to it. And experience tells you, that's maybe not a bad thing. But I think that this right-wing stuff is going to be the end of the Tories for a long time.
Well, I seriously doubt that that's the case, Malcolm, because that would be predicated on the incoming
government, assuming that it's somebody other than the Conservatives that win, it would be, and let's assume that it's Labour, it would be them enacting proportional representation, which Starmer seems to be weirdly reluctant to do. Well, not weirdly, actually, because all politicians dream of complete power. And once they've got it, they ain't going to give it up for no reason. And Starmer is just the bloomin' same. He can't conceive of acquiring power and then it being taken away from him. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. I've said this before. Write this down and make a small bet. The Labour Party will win the next general election, but probably not with an overwhelming majority. They'll struggle on, and the Conservative Party will, meanwhile, pivot on a sixpence and blame everything that is wrong with the country on the incoming Labour government. They won't waste a single solitary second to blame everything that's wrong with this country on an incoming Labour government, and just enough people over the following 5 years will think, yeah, that's right, bloomin' Labour's in power and we ain't got nothing. And they will vote for the Conservatives the following time, and they will run the country for the next 13 years, making us fearful that we're being invaded, or that, I don't know, fluoride in the water is turning you gay, or, I don't know, something of that. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just make people really, really scared. That's all. That's all you got to do. Scared and fearful and hateful. You don't have to give them hope. You just got to give them hate. Malcolm, I've got to go. But thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Simon says, I am myself an atheist, but they believe that 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ did actually exist as people saw him at the time. Historians, etc. Right. Okay. I'm not sure what the point of that is, but all right. Martin says, dinosaurs do walk on Earth with man, Jacob Rees-Mogg being one.
My view.
And Anne Widdecombe being another. That woman. Mary says, what's the church going to do with all their money as their followers decline? What do they do with their money now? Oh, they pay it out in legal compensation for you-know-what, in large numbers. Either that or the bills get too high and they declare bankruptcy. Woolwich, hello, Richard.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Richard.
Nick, I want to talk about the water company, but a lot of people are talking about the Beth Rigby interview, and I found it very interesting. And I was like, when I sort of closed my eyes and listened to that interview, I don't know whether Mega Ritchie is a machine or a man.
Mega Ritchie?
I call him Mega Ritchie, sorry.
Ritchie.
Mega Ritchie Sunak, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether he's a machine or a man.
No, he does come across very, very robotic.
But that is the Turing test. So that's exactly what Alan Turing was talking about. Whether you can differentiate a human from a bot.
Right.
And we are there.
Maybe we have achieved singularity.
I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it.
Yeah, exactly. But I just want to say very briefly that I've been listening to you for 2-3 years maybe, and you have. Since that time, you've been talking about this water company, this obscenity of this water company, and you must be feeling this week, surely, that suddenly you're mega trending. You're there because you
no, Fergal Sharkey. He's the one that's doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah, but you've been doing it for years, and you've been right on the money with this company. They are obscene. I felt really outraged this week because they've having sort of just completely drained that organisation of billions and given it to their shareholders, they're now saying that we have to fork up with this money.
It's not that. It's worse than that. They haven't drained their companies of money. They've ladled their companies with debt, and they gave that money to themselves. It's like if you or I went to a bank and borrowed money on an asset, our house, and then gave that money to ourselves. Except it's not our house we'd be borrowing the money on. It's like borrowing the money on somebody else's house and giving it to ourselves. It's ladling. Ladling. What's the word I'm looking for? Not ladling.
Labelling?
Layering. I'll go with ladling. Ladling debt all over us and just making off with the cash. They've given in cash to their shareholders and as bonuses for excellence in being them, pretty much the exact same amount of money as they have borrowed against those companies. So, and we're the poor dopes who pay taxes who are paying the interest on all that money that they borrowed.
Exactly. And you know what I found really amusing and sad at the same time is, there's people throughout the day phoning in LBC saying, I'm going to march on the streets.
Oh.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're going to sit on their couches watching afternoon TV.
Yeah. Or they'll find themselves waking up in jail. Yeah.
or that, yeah. And their kids are going to be up in their rooms kind of on TikTok. We're kind of living in this bizarre kind of world where we're just kind of fed these ongoing lies and deceit, and we're falling for it. And we should be more French about this stuff. I mean, I know
Yes.
Boris Johnson had something
Yes.
to say about the French this week, but we should be more French. We should burn things in the street. We should be doing that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know about burning things in the street, but we should actually raise a finger of objection to what is happening to us every now and again. The French wouldn't put up with it. Why do we?
Exactly. And very briefly, the amusing thing here this week was there's a lot of thing about the tuition fees. Tuition, as far as I can understand, the tuition fees is raising money to pay the tutors. But what I understand this week is we've paid tuition fees and it's gone into this kind of secret stash, and $500,000's paid to the vice chancellors, and there's a whole stash that is just sitting there, millions and millions of it, which is not going to the university lecturers. This whole system is completely dishonest.
I think that this entire country needs to be investigated. Absolutely everything that is going on in this country right now needs thorough investigation, and people should be going to jail. And if they did actually carry out a proper and thorough investigation as to, where's all the money gone over the last 13 years, then we're going to have to build a bigger jail.
Yeah, I love that reference. Yeah, the Jaws reference.
Yeah.
I got it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Paul says Nigel Farage would find it hard to emigrate, as no country would be daft enough to take him. Well, that is absolute tosh.
This is absolute tosh.
Absolute tosh. Mike says the week was ruined by Ruth Kelly, the former Secretary of State for this or that and everything else, popping up on telly as the boss of Water UK. Look at her biography on Wikipedia. Give me strength, says Mike. I won't look it up, and I won't give you strength. But thanks for asking. Ed says, when are you going to stand up for all those public school educated men and women in suits who are taking a stand against the terrifying left-wing establishment that have been running this country? Gary Lineker's mind control broadcasts have ruined this country and destroyed Brexit. And don't get me started on that Attenborough. Yeah. That bloomin' David Attenborough. One day the woke lefterati that run this country will be chucked out, and then it will be summer and Christmas every day forever. God save the king, says Ed. I'll sum that up for you. I think he's being sarcastic. And Fergus says, what are you planning to do on the 25th of December when all us stupid Christians celebrate Christmas? I'll be celebrating Christmas with all you stupid Christians, Fergus. And Christians that aren't stupid. I'll be celebrating crackers and presents and eating too much and watching The Great Escape on the TV. Because Christmas has got nothing to do with Jesus anymore. I mean, just look at what we do up to and including Christmas. Zero religious content. The only thing that would be, for almost everybody, slightly religious would be to contemplate, not actually do it in most cases, but to contemplate going to Mass at Christmas. And they would only do that, not because they are of a religious bent, but because it's an amusement. It's something to do. It's Christmassy. We don't do religion in this country anymore. And with each passing day, we do it less and less, which kind of gives you hope, really. Particularly as this sort of invading force of Bible bashers is trying to, it's trying to bash us into believing. But we're not American. British, damn it. Let's have Newcastle. Jed.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes,
Hope we're doing
sir.
well.
Good, thanks.
Just having to bring up and have a pop at the great unwashed British electorate.
Oh, yes.
I reckon about 70% of them, whatever has been happening at this Nat C rally all week, has either passed them by, and if anybody's actually seen it, they'll have been nodding along, agreeing to everything they've said. So we're just going to get what we deserve next year.
Right. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm assuming from the tone of your voice that you're thinking it's a bad thing. But what we're going to get next year is a bad thing.
I think it's going to be an absolutely horrendous thing. Right. I mean, when you've got our friend Smug saying, yes, we did some gerrymandering and some vote rigging, but
amazing.
Unfortunately, it happened on the wrong people.
Yeah, it didn't work.
We were trying to stop the war karate, but no grannies. All the grannies didn't turn up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot. He said. Yeah, amazing that they're so comfortable in the knowledge that nothing is going to happen to them that they can say the quiet parts out loud.
And if you can stand up and publicly criticise Hitler for not doing nationalism right, it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, that's kind of a twisting of the available facts, but it's not too far off. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Jed. 0345 6060 973. Mike says, no, read that. Martin says, God will save our gracious king, but the rest of us will have to fend for ourselves. Stop whinging, whining and moaning.
Stop whining.
Exactly. And Hal says, the fact that any opposition party blames the current government is the basis of a democracy. Labour or Tory would do the same. Your prediction is simply what happens in any system that produces an organised opposition. It's no great prediction that this is what will happen. No, Hal. If I'd said the same thing 13 years ago, I would have been wrong, because they would not have lost the following election. What I'm saying is that an incoming Labour government will be a one-term government. They ain't going to win the following one because the Tories will spend 5 years blaming the Labour Party for everything that is wrong in the country, and just enough people will be persuaded to nod along. Because it will also be their explanation about what is wrong with the country won't actually just stop at Labour's door. They will, of course, be blaming, the you-know-who. The boat people. We're still being invaded. And it's all Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Thanks a lot, Jezza. No! You see what you've done? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Darryl Jackson.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Here's some talk from a lady in Camden. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
I'd like to ask, the other day, the Cruella said we have to protect our Brexit.
The gorilla?
Cruella.
Oh, Cruella. Right, because I was thinking gorilla. Who could that be?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Cruella. Right.
She's one of the high priests of Brexit. What is there to protect? Is there anything... well, I don't know.
Well, there's nothing in it for you and me.
Even the highest priest, the Farage man, even he said there is no Brexit.
Yeah, he said Brexit is a failure.
Brexit's going great.
Yeah.
Do people think that there is something inside this empty box?
Yes, they do. That's what they voted for. An undetermined prize in a closed box. And they were promised that it was going to be great. They were promised that there was going to be no end of money in there. And a brand new, better life was inside that box. But the host of this game show wasn't telling the truth. Liar! But we voted, and because we voted for for the contents of an unopened box, we apparently cannot change our minds now that we have opened the box and find that there's nothing in it.
People can change their minds.
Oh, yeah, they have done, yeah. But apparently we are not allowed to, because that's democracy, not being allowed to change your mind based on any new information that's come your way, like the fact that we were lied to about absolutely everything that was going to happen after Brexit. All of the people that persuaded us to vote Brexit were completely incorrect about everything they promised. All of it.
That's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, what a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Shocking.
And they're proclaiming this from the highest office.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that they're doing God's work. Those people.
They're not ashamed.
No, they're not ashamed. They're rolling in clover, by which I mean money. Making a boatload of it.
That's typical. Not to be ashamed is typical of psychopaths.
Exactly. Yes. I do fear that we are being run by psychopaths. That is correct. Psychopaths do tend to be very successful in running things, though, because they act in their own interests, regardless of anybody else's. They have no empathy. They don't feel concern for others. They just act in the way that benefits them personally, by which method they achieve great success.
Yeah. So if psychopaths are successful, this means the others are what's the opposite of sadist?
Masochist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, every sadist needs a good masochist. It's a match made in heaven. Claire, I got to go, but don't worry, it's going to be all right, unless it isn't. I agree with Greg Hands, or Guy Hands, rather. Guy Hands is the financier, former Tory donor. He says leaving the EU was a plan by the rich to make themselves richer and the poor poorer. Now, he's a man who knows a thing or two, Guy Hands. He's one of those people at the top, at the very, 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 very top, right at the pinnacle. A former Tory donor, founder and chair of Terra Firma, a private equity firm that he founded, multi-millionaire, one of the best-known figures in the British financial system. He said, quotes, what Brexit was largely about was people at the top being able to employ the rest of us or the rest of the country for a lot less and pay a lot less tax. Yep, that's it. In a nutshell. What Brexit was largely about was people at the top being able to employ the rest of the country for a lot less
and pay a lot less tax. And that informs absolutely everything that you know about Brexit. Just think of anything about it, and it all comes back to that. I mean, this obsession about getting rid of all of those EU rules and regulations. Which rules and regulations do you think they're most obsessed about getting rid of? The ones about pay, and the ones about terms and conditions, and the ones about being able to employ people on basically slave wages and getting them to do your bidding from now until the end of time, so that you can pull in even more money and pay even less in tax. That's what it was all about. Guy Hands said the quiet part out loud. He also went on to say that, you know, Britain is in geriatric decline, and that Poland will soon be richer than we are. Poland? I mean, no offence to the Poles, but that's just embarrassing. He said Britain is in a sort of geriatric decline, with its post-Brexit business outlook and investment case getting worse every day. Making Britain worse every day is Rishi Sunak's top priority.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities, the people's priorities. It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus. My absolute number one priority.
My number one priority is to protect this government.
Well, what I want to reassure people is that this will be my number one priority. People should be absolutely reassured that this is a top priority for me. I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it. Absolutely vomitous. On and on and on about people's number one priority. Well, from looking at the results of the local election that we've just had, where the Tories lost over 1,000 seats, I think Britain's number one priority is getting rid of Rishi Sunak. Nobody voted for him. It's our number one priority. 0345 6060 973. Manchester. Hello, Louise.
Oh, hi there, Nick. I heard, I don't know if I heard correctly, but there were jobs going in Westminster that have plenty of perks. Good, great food, great prices. Mm-hmm. I wonder how we can get those jobs. Are they available to the citizens of the country?
No.
Or not?
No.
Okay.
Which jobs are you referring to? Jobs of being a prime minister, or the jobs of being a not prime minister, a minister, an MP? Is that what you're talking about? Or being an MP's assistant, glamorous, pulchritudinous assistant?
I don't think I want to be assistant. I think I'd want to be the organ grinder, not the monkeys.
Right.
But. Yeah, it just sounded so good because the perks of the job, you know, you don't get better than that, do you? Anyway, I just wanted to speak about water as well, if I may. Mm-hmm. I must have been asleep because I thought the people of this country were sovereign, and I don't remember voting to privatise our water.
No.
So
I don't remember voting on any of the nation's silver that we just gave to the lowest bidder. Quite suspiciously, it all seemed to end up in the hands of the ruling class, of the top 1%. Yeah, I can remember when they sold off the gas, it was all about us little people having a stake in the company, but it didn't really work out that way, did it?
It did not. Neither did it work out. I'm sure that when they said they were going to privatise the water, we'd actually get the infrastructure sorted out.
That was the reason for them doing it, so that private enterprise could literally flood it with money, and by that method sort out all of the underlying problems in our infrastructure. But what they did instead was to load and we gifted them those companies. We actually just gave them away debt-free, and what they did was use the assets to borrow something like £56 billion, which they awarded to themselves. It has to be the biggest heist in history. Name me a heist that people got away with more money in history.
Maybe somebody else can, but I can't. They're selling our country from under our noses, and now they're selling the actual land to
Freeports.
Yeah, they're selling bombs under our feet, in other words.
Free ports, terrifying. You're going to have to rely on the kindness of corporations. And I mean, we're talking about psychopaths. A corporation is psychopathic because it only acts in its own interest. It doesn't care about you, regardless of what the corporation is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sort of faltering now because I'm tired. But
you're tired? Imagine how I feel.
Well, thank God you're there because, no, there is no God.
There'd be like long periods of silence if I wasn't here.
What do we say instead of thank God then when we say
thank goodness?
God?
Goodness is still alive and well in some parts of the world. Not too much here, but every now and again you trip over it. Goodness, thank goodness.
There you are.
Bingo.
There you are.
All right. Thanks a lot, Louise. 034. May goodness go with you. 0345 6060 973. Hal says, the fact that any opposition party blames the current government is... Nope, read that. Jan says, how many cheap taxpayer-funded meals and cheese sandwiches do you reckon... All right. How many cheap taxpayer-funded meals and cheese sandwiches do you reckon Anne Widdecombe helped herself to over her long taxpayer-funded career? I don't know. Any thoughts, Zaphod?
And one
sandwich.
2
sandwiches.
6 million.
Yeah, about 6 million. That sounds about right. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Growing numbers of patients are paying high fees to see a private doctor and avoid the huge NHS backlog. Do we now have a 2-tier health service?
Clive Bull on LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Come on, we're running late.
We are indeed running late. Where has the time gone? Chelsea. Hello, Mark.
Oh, hi. Hello. So down the road, the Citizens Advice Bureau is shutting. The mental health unit of the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital shut. So if someone's sectioned and you want to visit them, you've got to go to Park Royal or miles away. As you know, I'm sorry I'm boring, Chelsea Cop Shop, Belgravia Cop Shop, shut. Chelsea's been demolished, sold to the Qatari royal family to be luxury flats. If your watch is slightly shiny, you can watch on YouTube people are beaten to death. Sometimes the watch is worth nothing. We need cops when the crime rate is the highest ever, and cop shops. Now, all of this, and I could go on and on, I know you haven't got time.
You have.
Infrastructure that's destroyed is because of people in small boats coming here.
Yes.
Not because of mismanagement or corruption.
No.
Or hundreds of millions of pounds of taxpayers' money given by the Prime Minister
and
his
vanished.
number 2.
Yeah, vanished.
Well, they've got a name for it. It's called fast tracking. You give the money to your mates, but which would be okay if the stuff worked, but straight out of the Del Boy School of Business, it was for reject substandard PPE equipment that cost under 100,000 deaths. No talk of corporate manslaughter.
The best investment you could possibly make is to be a donor to the Conservative Party.
But they've discovered legal migration now, as opposed to people in small boats that legally claim asylum. Now, even Hitler didn't object to a foreign student coming and going to university. I know somebody who's dead, someone who's dead now. She dined with Hitler. She went to Germany to university and represented a country in the javelin, the Berlin Olympics. Even Hitler didn't object to someone with money coming and going to the university because they weren't Aryan. Now this,
I'm not sure that anybody in the government refuses to contemplate the notion of somebody coming here to study. They don't like it when they bring their family members with them. But, yeah. Okay, all right. I feel your emotion, Mark, but I bet that's about as far as I can go with the Hitler talk. I think we mentioned Hitler a couple of times on this show, but I think we got away with it. Just don't mention the war, that's all. Mohammed emails, conservatism was associated with empiricism and the view that truth is extrinsic. What? Does that make sense?
No.
Is it just me? Empiricism, as in you find from experience. The truth is extrinsic. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, conservatism has been dead for a very long time, he says. I really do think that people are trying to inject the fascism that nation-states experience when they are newborns into Britain. We dabbled with it in the 1920s. What do you think prevented our country going full on Mussolini or doing a de Gaulle, says Mohammed. Well, at least he didn't mention Hitler. And Pete says, how do I get deported to Rwanda? I think it might be a better place to live than here right now. But pretty soon Rwanda's going to be richer than we are. Wickham, hello, Jake.
How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
This is a point that I've wanted to call in for a long time about. I listen to all sorts of hosts on LBC, a big lover, but this just seems like the right show. World of politics in the last, let's say, 20 years, we have seen the most ridiculous things take place, from Brexit and Liz Truss and various other points. And I just can't seem to understand why no one can... Why are we not anywhere within our politics?
Why your phone keeps cutting out. Why are we not what in our politics?
Why are we not succeeding anywhere within our politics? Why are we constantly not to be achieving? 20 years, we've seen a massive shift in technology in the world like no before. Mm-hmm. And you think any other politician or world leader prior to that kind of technology boom and this shift in globalization, this change in companies and the AI and all these other conversations, your leader now everything that they need to know to lead. So it almost feels like leaders aren't leaders, they're learners. So it's Donald Trump or Liz Truss or anyone, they're trying to spin their new way agenda on this new world that makes sense to anyone because we're all navigating it together. And it just feels like we're not going to get out of this. And I don't understand how we get out of this shift, because currently there isn't anyone politically that I can side with that are going to do or deliver what I want them to.
Okay, Jake, now let me stop you right there. What you are about to say, in a more verbose and mellifluous way, is they're all the same. They aren't all the same. Pick the least bad option, but make sure you vote.
Well, I definitely will vote. Don't get me wrong, but I hate it when people do say they're all the same, because they're not all the same.
Of course not.
I heavily side with Labour a lot more. There are ways that I think Keir can improve. No one's perfect.
No.
I absolutely detest the phrase of they're all the same, which is why I came to my point of thinking there's got to be a bigger problem here than just everyone being a problem, that there's got to be something that we don't understand in the world. And I think it's just that huge shift in industry and technology and don't understand yet. And so there's no real world leader like back in the olden days or Tudor times, whatever, where the world, you knew how it worked. There wasn't really anything that rocked the boat, whereas we're constantly rocking the boat now. And I just want someone to come forward that's really going to go, okay, on.
Right. Okay. I need somebody to invent a mobile phone that you can actually use as a phone, because it seems to do absolutely everything you could possibly imagine apart from that one function. Jake, you need to get yourself another phone because yours keeps cutting out. But I appreciate the call. Thank you. Marcus says, this government makes me feel I'm invisible and being talked over all the time. It's as if the public don't exist, says Marcus. Oh, you mean...
the little people.
Those people, not leprechauns. Matt says the water company scam is worse than most people realise. When Thatcher privatised them in 1989, some of the 10 water companies that were created not only got them for free, Thatcher even gave them money, as the sewers and the pipework and infrastructure was so poor. This way they would be able to upgrade said infrastructure. Since 1991, these companies have paid out £57 billion in dividends, and themselves, of course. Yeah, and that £57 billion, by the way, is almost the exact same figure as they have borrowed, ladling debt onto their companies, not in order to fix the infrastructure, but in order to award themselves vast piles of money. That's what's happened. Private enterprise, it's just staggering what's happened. I say it's the biggest heist in the history of humankind. We gave them our water. We gave them monopolies in the most precious thing we have outside of the air that we breathe. No one can do without water. It's impossible. It's essential for life. So we gave them monopolies of an essential good. We gave it to them for free. We wiped the debt that was involved. They then ladled debt onto their companies and gave that cash to themselves. That's what's happened. I think it's about £57 billion in debt. And the interest on that debt is, of course, being paid by us poor dopes who pay taxes. And we're swimming in it. The debt and, it.
Disgusting.
Exactly. Name me a bigger heist in the history of humankind. I bet you can't. I mean, it's not it wouldn't make an exciting film. But, Brad Pitt wouldn't be interested. He'd reject that script straight away. But as far as the money goes, huge. Chris says the Rigby Sunak interview reminded me of the Action Man toy from years ago. It had a string in it, and when you pulled the string in his back, it would say the same words over and over. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's our number one priority. It just bounces off him. He has this little worried look in his face, like he's a little puppy that needs a pee, but he knows it shouldn't go in the kitchen because its owner shouted at him. He always looks like he needs to go to the toilet all the time. This worried, panicked look in his eyes. I'm just delivering on the people's priorities. Well, the people's priorities are that we would wave you a cheery ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
That's the people's priority. Get somebody else in there. As the local elections have proved beyond doubt. And if we're allowed to have a general election again, then you may be receiving that same information twice. But we'll find out if we get there. Hey. Now, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen back. If you got one of them stupid smart speakers, the magic phrase is play Nick Abbott The Whole Show podcast. It's only available on Global Player. If you haven't got Global Player, you can get it for free from your App Store or head to globalplayer.com. And with that app, you can rewind live radio like magic. I'll be back on at 10 for my abnormal show. Coming up at 4, it's Ali Mirage. But right now, Clive Ball. 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 Clive Ball.